Your first job as a nurse practitioner will set the tone for the rest of your career because it can strongly affect your confidence and competence as a clinician. Of course, you can always redo and get another job if your first job doesn't work out, but you want to get a job that will give you a great head start on your career. In this episode, I'm going to talk about how I landed my first nurse practitioner job and what I learned from that experience. Hi, I'm Miki Miura. I'm a family nurse practitioner in Hawaii. I got my first nurse practitioner job about 10 years ago. In this episode, I'm going to share with you how I landed my first nurse practitioner job and things that I want students and new grad nurse practitioners to know about how to look for your first nurse practitioner job and things I learned from that experience. So first, let's talk about how I got my first nurse practitioner job. So first, let's talk about how I landed my first nurse practitioner job. I get this question all the time from my nurse practitioner students. So how I landed my first nurse practitioner job was unexpected. I did clinical rotation at different clinical sites. I was a family nurse practitioner student, so I went to different fields like women's health, pediatrics, and adult medicine and stuff like that. And right around the time I was about to graduate, I was so thankful for preceptors to teach me. Everybody was so kind, and now being a preceptor, I'm even more appreciative of preceptors for making time to teach students. But even back then, I was very appreciative for their time and effort to teach me because there are many things I didn't know. And I felt stupid, but they didn't make me feel stupid. They are very kind and patient with me, and I was very thankful. So I went back to clinical sites, especially the ones that I felt really connected and I really thought that they really dedicated their time and effort for me. So I went back with a little bit of a treat for the staff and the provider to thank for their effort and time. Because of them, I was able to graduate. And I put some greeting card, thank you so much, and stuff like that. When I went into one of my preceptors, who was OB/GYN physician, I don't know why that topic came up. It's natural, but I think she asked me because I wasn't even thinking of this is gonna be the opportunity to get my first nurse practitioner job at all. Seriously, I didn't think about that. Now I think I teach my students, hey, this is a great way, so you should do this. But back then, I was so naive. I wasn't thinking about anything, but I just was very thankful. And then also, this is what I taught from my family. It's in my Japanese culture as well to always thank and show the appreciation. So I went back and say, thank you so much. Because of your kind teaching, I'm able to graduate. And my preceptor told me, I'm not hiring right now. My office is small. I'm not looking for another provider, but you're amazing. And let me ask my colleague, Sensei, who's looking for nurse practitioners. And I was like, thank you so much. And then she told me to send my resume, which I did through the email. And then I wasn't really expecting anything. I thought that she's just saying that, but she actually did. And one of the office OB/GYN physician approached to me and said she's looking for a nurse practitioner, and that's how I got my first job. On top of getting the job offer from the OB/GYN office, I also looked for other job options because I wanted to see what's out there. And then also I was actually really desperate because I was on student visa. I really needed to find a job. I really needed to find an employer who can support me to get either work visa or permanent residency. Actually, at the time, I was thinking permanent residency isn't an option, which is an option, but I was thinking just anybody who can sponsor me to get a work visa, that would be great because I worked really hard to become a nurse practitioner in America. And in Japan, there's no legal nurse practitioner exists at the time and still yet. So I didn't want it to go back and return to work as a registered nurse after spending my time, effort, and money on getting education in the United States. So I was looking for multiple job options and see what's out there. Because at the time, I was also thinking, my preceptor who told me she's going to ask around and see if any of her colleagues are looking for nurse practitioners, I thought that she was just saying to be kind and polite. So I didn't really expect it. So I was looking for jobs on Indeed and I think on Craigslist too. I also went to different physicians' office. I was looking because I can speak Japanese. I thought that maybe I can go into those offices who have certain numbers of Japanese speaking patients so that they can utilize my bilingual skill. So I went into those offices and then gave a cover letter and resume. I made sure that I made a little bit of effort to customize each cover letter to show that, hey, I am suitable to work there. So I didn't hand out just a generic cover letter. They are similar, but I tweaked a little bit based on where I apply. So I just gave out a cover letter and resume. This didn't give me a job offer right away, but after years of practicing as a nurse practitioner, sometimes I got a call, say, hey, I'm looking for Miki Miura. And I was thinking to myself, I didn't refer a patient to the physician or provider, so why am I getting this call? And sometimes they said, oh, now we're looking for a nurse practitioner. Are you interested? And I'm amazed. Oh my God, they hold on to my cover letter and resume for years. I do recommend to try that too. Who knows? It might not work out right away, but it might give you some job options later on in your career. I did also went to websites of major hospitals and medical centers in Hawaii. But back then, there are not many nurse practitioner jobs. Now it's different. Pretty much every department of major hospitals have at least one nurse practitioner or one PA. So things are different. But back then when I was a new grad nurse practitioner, the job posting for nurse practitioners were limited. But I did check their website as well. Me, it worked out. I hope you are enjoying this episode. Before we go back, I want to quickly mention that I'm giving a gift to you for listening to this episode. I'm giving a free PDF nurse practitioner job interview prep checklist. This checklist is full of questions that you're likely to be asked during job interviews as a nurse practitioner and some tips on how to prepare for them. With this downloadable PDF, you can prepare for interviews well so you feel confident and stand out from other candidates to get the job that you really want. To get this free PDF nurse practitioner job interview prep checklist, you can go to usa.jnpproject.com/interview. Again, usa.jnpproject.com/interview. Now let's get back to the episode. So how I chose my first job. After doing all of those, I end up getting 2 solid job offer and then 1 potential job offer. Another solid job offer besides the OB/GYN job, which I end up taking, was working at a family practice physician's office. I went into the office, she let me shadow, and she was super nice. Her husband was really nice. They're very welcoming. It seemed really nice work environment in terms of who I work with. But there are a couple of things that really stand out when I was considering which job to take. So one is that, the family practice stock was looking for somebody to film in the afternoon. And she said I can call her anytime. But as a new grad nurse practitioner, I was scared to be by myself, although she is one phone call away. But I was scared to be alone and independent right away, which I think that considering her personality, she will be totally okay to give me more time to get oriented. So could have been okay, but at the time, especially another thing is I was considering should I go into specialty or be a generalist, and which I'm gonna talk about more in depth in another episode. But as a new grad, I felt that it's safer to go into specialty and then get deeper knowledge and skill in certain limited fields so I can feel confident. Versus family practice, you have to see kids, you have to see elder population, you have to see all kinds of problems. And I felt like that's too much to cover. So I was leaning toward more specialized field. Another thing was that for some reason, this was a nice instinct that I had, but for the family practice, they only have 2 exam rooms with a closet, like very tiny one room, and I will be using just one room for a whole day if I work with physician at the same time. Versus the OB/GYN office had multiple rooms. Actually, they had 2 offices. I ended up working at one office by myself for the most part. We switched over because there are 2 physicians. One physician went on to maternity leave pretty much right after I joined. So I remember that I said I don't want to be alone right after I joined the group. I ended up doing that for the OB/GYN office, but I didn't know that's going to happen when I was looking for a job. But anyway, the OB/GYN office had more rooms. I don't know why that came to my mind, but this is very important. If you only have one room to navigate, your workflow is going to be much, much harder versus if you have 2 room, 3 room, because while you're seeing a patient, medical assistant can check in other patient or give treatments or blood draw or do some testing. So it's easier to juggle and make the clinic flow smoother versus you have one room, which happened to me before. It was such a struggle. It's hard to be productive because you occupy one room and then nothing's gonna happen besides that because there's only one room. So for some reason, when I was considering 2 job options, I was thinking that was also another determinant. And another determinant was OB/GYN office already had worked with nurse practitioner before. So they know what nurse practitioner can do, how to deal with insurance application paper and stuff like that. Versus this family practice office never had nurse practitioner. I was going to be the first nurse practitioner they hire. So it seemed like it's going to be a lot of confusion. And as an international student who is looking for an employer who can support me to get work visa, that's also a new thing to them. So it seemed like it's going to be a little bit chaotic. And I think because of that, they couldn't really give me exact date of when I can start working versus the OB/GYN office was, okay, you can start this day. So it seems like it was more promising. And as a new grad nurse practitioner, who was on student visa, only have OPT of 1 year and had to get a job right away so I can apply for work visa, it seems OB/GYN job offer was more solid. And that's why I end up choosing the job option. Do I regret my decision? No, I don't. I love women's health. It's interesting because I always imagine myself becoming a pediatric nurse practitioner or family nurse practitioner working in pediatrics because pediatrics was my passion. But I realized that women's health is also my passion, and I'm so glad that I chose that specialty. Personally, I feel that specializing really suits my personality and preference, but it depends. Again, we're gonna talk about this in a different episode of whether you should specialize or you should go into more broad practice. But for me, it worked out. So if you're looking for jobs as new grad nurse practitioner or you're about to graduate your nurse practitioner program and start thinking of how to look for jobs, there are multiple things that I tell my students to do. First thing is to tell your preceptors what you are interested in. The last semester I taught 2 students. One of them was planning to go outside of Hawaii. I couldn't help her to look for a job in terms of connecting using my network. But the other nurse practitioner student, she told me multiple times that she really loved women's health and she really wants to get into the field. After she finished rotation with me, and actually that was the last rotation, and I heard from my colleagues, hey, this OB/GYN office is looking for a nurse practitioner. Do you know anybody they're willing to teach, even new grad nurse practitioner? And I told my former student, hey, this office is looking for a nurse practitioner. You should totally apply. Because I knew her preference, that's why I was able to connect these 2 dots, and hopefully she got a job. I haven't heard from her yet. This is just really recent, so I haven't heard from her what happened, but hopefully it went well. But because I knew her preference and I knew her passion, especially, it's very important not only to say, hey, I'm interested in women's health, but you have to show passion that I'm really into this. I know I'm not very good yet. I have a lot of things to learn, but I really want to be very good at women's health. People really cherish those passions. That's very important. Your attitude that you want to learn more. Tell your preceptors that you're interested in certain fields if you are really interested in them. Another thing is, it's pretty obvious, but do really well during clinical rotations. Don't think that you can just show up and then you get taught everything. You are not in elementary school. You're in grad school. In grad school, even after you graduate nurse practitioner program, you have to learn on your own every day. I still learn many things on my own. You have to do your homework. You have to do your tasks on your own. And if you have some questions, you can't figure that out, then you can ask physician colleagues or senior nurse practitioners, hey, I try to figure this out, but I can't figure out. Can you help me? But you have to do your homework. And as a nurse practitioner student, you have to do your best. Don't just show up not doing any study on your own. Try to do a lot of research. Try to do, like, when you show up for the next day, next clinical day, make sure you are better than the previous day of clinical. You have to show up, because I wouldn't recommend former students who weren't that great to my colleagues, because they're also like, hey, Miki, you sent this student, but she's or he is not that very good. What's going on? Like, I trusted you. So I also have a responsibility. If I make a referral, I have to make sure that my recommendation is actually trustable. I have to see that this student are very eager to learn, have very hard work ethic, and actually very good as a student. You don't have to be perfect. Of course, you're a student, so you're not perfect yet, but you have to do your very best during clinical rotation. And in my coaching program, in my online programs, I'll teach you tons of stuff that you can do to improve your clinical performance for if you are students or new grad nurse practitioners. But remember that clinical is not just for you to learn, but rather consider it as a job interview. They are watching you, either your preceptor or preceptor's colleagues at the same clinical site. They might be watching you, say, hey, now we're looking for a nurse practitioner. How about your student? She looked really good. And I can be like, yes, she was so good. You should hire her. So definitely take that advantage of that opportunity. Another thing is go back to your preceptors when you're about to graduate and tell them thank you. You could email or send a letter. It's better than nothing. But I personally, I'm old school. I like the personal touch to take your time, drive or whatever transportation option you use, and then personally thank your preceptors for their hard work to teach you. And this way you will show your appreciation, which as a preceptor, we really appreciate it. We really want you to be successful. And then also a little bit of appreciation really makes our day, because precepting is not easy at all. That will really make their day. But also you can notify them, say, hey, I'm about to graduate. I might ask you to be my reference. I might ask you to write a letter of recommendation. And if possible, maybe if there's any good opportunity, you might contact me. I'm about to graduate and I'm going to be available as a new grad nurse practitioner. Without actually saying that. You could say that, but you can be classy and just showing up and say, hey, I'm about to graduate. Thank you so much for teaching me. I think it's a win-win situation. You should totally do that. I did it not intentionally, but now I think, man, that was a really good thing to do. Another thing is look for multiple job options. If you get a first job offer, don't stop right there. Keep looking. You don't want to keep looking for months and months because the first employer who offer you a job may say, you know what, we need somebody right away. So good luck, but we're going to hire somebody else. So it's hard to say how long you should wait, maybe a few weeks or a month or so, but don't stop looking. You want to have multiple job offers. So that's why when you're looking for a job, don't knock one door at a time. You should knock multiple doors at a time so you can get multiple job offers. Because what's going to happen is if you have multiple job offers, you can compare and possibly negotiate. You can tell an employer we're interested in hiring you, saying I'm really interested in working with you, but I have another job offer actually give me this much more wage. Is there any way you can match with that? The important thing is if you have multiple job options, you can negotiate easily. Versus if you only have one job option, it's hard to say, hey, can you up my wage or salary just because I want to get paid more? Which is nothing wrong, but it's a little bit harder to negotiate. Another thing you can do is go to local or national conferences in the specialized field and make connections. And then tell them how passionate you are. You want to be a specialized nurse practitioner in that specific field. And you don't even have to say you're looking for jobs, or you can say that, but most important thing is you tell them how passionate you are, you're eager to learn, and when people see that in you, they are willing to help you. They might connect you to employers who are looking for nurse practitioners. They might give you a try and maybe you can shadow them, and then they see your passion and work ethic and they might say, you know what, you seem like a good fit into our office. Why don't you come work with us? So making a connection is extremely important, especially in Hawaii. It's very important. We are a very small state, small, wonderful state that I love. But connection is extremely important because then people can assure this person is reliable, have a good personality and trustable and stuff like that. Last thing I would say is make a business card. Even when you are a student or new grad nurse practitioner, make a business card. It's super cheap to make it, and then maybe put a QR code that link to your resume. So when you go to those conferences, or who knows, you might be on an airplane, sit right next to somebody from the medical office looking for a nurse practitioner, which actually happened to me. I wasn't looking for a job, but they're looking for a nurse practitioner for weight loss program. And then we're just talking. If I was looking for a job, that was a great opportunity. But if you have a business card, say, hey, this is my info. Please contact me and I am happy to. You can also scan the QR code and then there will be my resume. Contact me if you have any questions or if you can do interviews. So make business card. It's a good investment. It's not that expensive at all, but I think it will be a wonderful investment. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions or opinions, or if you can share your experience, successful stories, or some failures, both will be very helpful for us to learn from that experience. Please write down in the comment section. All right, I'll see you in the next episode. Aloha.